The following are the words of Lou Civello, President of the Suffolk County Police Benevolent Association.
Police officers risk their lives to protect our communities and keep our streets safe. These officers are the thin blue line that stands between your family and the criminals that would do them harm. We are your neighbors, protecting your neighborhood. Hold the line. Support law enforcement. Stand with the Suffolk County PBA.
The following radio show is live, except for the announcement you're hearing right now.
Welcome back to Your Island Live with your host, Tom Schiliro, on 103.9 LI News Radio.
And once again, welcome back. Moving right along. As promised, every other week we have with us the president of the Suffolk County PBA is Lou Civello. As you all know, we talk about Lou all the time, and Lou's with us. And there's a couple of issues that have been permeating up in my brain here that I wanted to talk to Lou about. But let's say hello to Lou Civello. Hey, Lou.
Tom, good afternoon. Great to be with you.
You know, I've been looking about what's happening over there in Boston, and I was thinking of you. There's an individual by the name of Larry Calderon. He's your counterpart. He's head of the Boston Police Department, PBA. And they've been a little active lately, Lou, as you guys are very active also. And I tend to watch what the men and women of our law enforcement, what they do in their representation in terms of the fraternal organizations, the PBAs, or what have you, and how important they are. Now, Nicholas O'Malley, he's 33 years old, police officer with the Boston PD, perfect record, and I'm sure you've heard of this case. And I think it was October 11th, they got a call for a carjacking. And the individual who was doing this, alleged individual, Stevenson King, 39 years old, was assaulting a female victim, getting her out of the car while he took the car. It was a pretty violent crime. And as you well know, you did time on the street in New York City and Suffolk County and so on. This is the most incredible job in the world. And we stress that all the time when you come on, Lou, is that I want people to put themselves in the positions of these police officers and what they're doing and how this is I'm saying right now, toughest job in the country. Okay. So he gets to the scene. And the woman is fighting him or she's assaulted. He gets behind she's out of the car now. He drags her out of the car. He's in the car. And he was known. Just like you guys know who the actors are in the communities. Why? Because you've arrested them. 1 time, right. 2 times, 5 times. Am I right, Lou?
A lot of repeat customers, Tom, that's for sure.
So they know this guy. I don't know. It's not funny, but they know this guy. And they know they've arrested him 7, 8 times. So he decides, okay, I got to get away. Now his partner is there. The partner jumps out of the way, nearly gets hit by the car. So he's trying to run the cops over with the car. There was no other choice. And Nicholas O'Malley, 33 years old, 7-year veteran, perfect record, commendations, ends up using deadly physical force and shoots and kills Stevenson King. Now, as you know, and I'm getting to something, as you know, whenever there's a shooting, here in New York State, the state attorney general gets involved. Suffolk County will get involved. The district attorney will get involved. And they'll begin lengthy investigations. And, of course, this is what we want. We want to show that our officers have been trained properly, particularly in the use of deadly physical force. Well, for some reason, Lou, in this case, within 6 days, the district attorney, Kevin Hayden, filed manslaughter charges against Officer Nicholas O'Malley without any of what I just said. No indictment, no preliminary investigations as to whether it's a justifiable use of deadly physical force. All of the stuff that you and I, as a former police officer myself, and you as a police officer, expect a law enforcement to do, expect government to do. And we want that. We want our officers to be cleared whenever this happens. Well, he gets arrested. And within 6 days, and this DA Hayden, who you would think the district attorney wants to prosecute. And again, this guy, Stevenson King, who was well known to the district attorney. So now you have a case of a police officer, Nicholas O'Malley. He is facing manslaughter charges. Okay. He's having to go out and, of course, his lawyers being provided for him, rightfully so. And he's got everybody up in arms. At his first court appearance, it was packed. And you know who it was packed with? fellow officers of the Boston Police Department, led by Larry Calderon, your counterpart over there. And I raise this issue with you is because I want to say, where is the line of thinking? And I'm going to start with Kevin Hayden, the district attorney. What is the line of thinking in this, in going after a police officer under these circumstances without any of the preliminaries to be done? Because I think he would be cleared big time. I'm always going to say that 99.9 or 100% he'd be cleared of the shooting. But now he's going to face manslaughter charges. And what is the climate, Lou, of why this exists? I'm sorry I spoke too long, but what is the climate that makes this exist? Lou Civello.
Yeah, absolutely, Tom. So, I mean, this is just a perversion of justice. It's a political prosecution. You know, it's obvious that this was a rush to judge, and it's being done for political purposes.
Okay.
You know, Boston, great union up there, Larry, strong union, but it's again with a woke government, and they're more concerned with pleasing the radical left than they are with justice, plain and simple. And what we see is police officers becoming second-class citizens, just like they are here in New York State, where we have special rules just for the prosecution of police officers. You know, we have the AG, not the local DA, that's going to be investigating. We have the city sergeant, again, another perversion of justice, that defended his own life with the drug dealer coming at him on the scooter, and ends up not only prosecuted but convicted and looking at doing serious time. It shows the state of what goes on when you have one party control in a city or a state or a municipality. There is no balance, and unfortunately, our police officers more and more are becoming the victims of this system.
You know, I mean, yeah, you brought up the case in New York City, too, and I meant to bring that up also. I think what my level of frustration and so many other people out there is the lack of understanding as to the nature of police work and what it means and how the stress level. You could be sitting all day in a patrol car, and yes, you can be just on patrol. I never like to use the word routine, but you could be out there, and maybe at the end of the day, you didn't really get that many calls for service, and it was a slow day. But in any given minute, look, what can happen? The whole situation changes. And then the high level of excitement that takes place and the stress level that goes up. I wish people would understand that. I wish a district attorney, Kevin Hayden, who, by the way, is running for re-election, no surprise. You know, you answered the question perfectly. It's political. For some reason, there's a political movement out there that this is okay to do. That Nicholas O'Malley, who has a wife and 3 kids, and has taken this job because he believes in protecting his community, and he's a good man by all accounts. There is nothing else in his background. That's what his attorney is bringing out. It doesn't matter. How do we reverse that? How do we reverse the this whole political thing out there that it's okay to go for the cops? What they're doing to ICE is incredibly horrible, but to see this happening on a local level, and I'm talking about Boston, is just horrendous, Lou.
Yeah, I'm disgusted by it, Tom. And the only way you combat it is political activism. You have to be involved. You have to know who you're voting for. You have to vote, right? You have to make sure that your voice is heard and it counts, because many of these elected officials, like this DA, doesn't care about justice, doesn't care about the truth, only cares about his job and keeping his job. So you have to make sure that he's not going to keep his job, when he does things like this, when he perverts the justice system. And that's one of the things we're very good here in Suffolk County, is being involved, making sure that the voter is educated, making sure we engage with the community in which we live and we work. We're out there every single day. I know Boston PBA is as well. And we need to do more of it. We need to do it on a statewide level. We need to do it on a nation level if we're going to combat this. Because if not, Tom, we can't all just up and move to North Carolina or Florida, right? Yeah. We're not going to abandon our homes here on Long Island, these places that we brought our kids up and that we love. We need to fight for it, and that fight happens at the voters' booth. And we need to make sure that, our voice is heard, that the voice of reason is heard, that people are prioritizing public safety when they go to those voters' booths. And that's something that, again, we've been very involved in. I know you know that, Tom, and we're going to keep that fight up and try to grow it.
You know, I'm an optimist, and I'm listening to what you're saying. You're 100%. We need to do that. All of us, whether we're retired, whether we're civilians, whether we're active duty, it doesn't matter. We all need to be involved in this. You know, I get highly criticized when I bring up Derek Chauvin. In my mind, that was one of the biggest show trials ever that you could possibly imagine in order to at least come to the conclusion of what the community wanted, so-called wanted. So Derek Chauvin today is paying the price for being in really having that happen to him, utilizing at the time. And I don't want to relitigate the case. The point is Derek Chauvin should not be in doing 20 years for a homicide or whatever. I think they got him on the second degree or first degree manslaughter, whatever they ended up getting him on. The point of the matter is the case in and of itself was unfair, but it was trying to reach a political conclusion, not a just conclusion. And everything you just said is exactly right of what we need to do. Okay. And I think
the most unfair part of that, Tom, was the fact that there was a mob outside the courtroom ready to riot if they didn't get the verdict that they wanted.
That's right.
There is no way you can get a fair trial under those circumstances. You know, that trial should have been moved. There should have been a change of jurisdiction. That did not happen. And in my opinion, regardless if you think he's guilty or innocent, it's obvious that the trial wasn't fair, right? No. So there needs to be a new trial in that case.
Yeah, and I've spoken to some people over there in Minneapolis, and I've had a few of them on the show who were very close to knowing who were in that courtroom every day, and they said there was no doubt. In fact, they just said what you just said, is that the mob outside, the jurors were frightened out of their minds because the jurors were let out knowing full well that their faces were being seen. That alone, they should have been sequestered. They should have been kept more anonymously, and they weren't. You know, so that, you know, again, we can look at that case and bring that out.
Right.
Representative Premilia Jayapal, she's one of those radicals, you know, along with whatever their names are. I can't remember right now. She, I believe she represents the Boston area, and she wrote that we all grieve. We grieve for Stevenson King. We grieve with his family for his killing, his unjust killing. This I'm quoting her. That puts, it's not just the political rhetoric that exists maybe on a subliminal level. It exists in a top level. She's a member of Congress. And this is what seems to be almost the mantra of a member of Congress, that we grieve for Stevenson King, who, and I'm going to say this, I know he's dead, but he was a thug. And he committed a lot of crimes, and he created a lot of victims. And we have our police officers. You know, Nicholas O'Malley was doing his job that day. And I get sickened over this, Lou.
I do too. And, you know, he was a thug, and there's no shame in saying that. The same way George Floyd was a thug. George Floyd put a gun to the belly of a pregnant woman as he was robbing her, right?
Yeah.
This is not an upstanding citizen or somebody that we should look up to as a hero. Which in many ways the radical left, you know, tried to make him into that. And, you know, again, regardless of what you think of the circumstances, and that's not to say that anybody deserves to die, but, you know, we can't twist reality and alter reality and take someone who is a violent criminal, a thug, someone who would kill you for $10 or a drug fix, and then suddenly make them into some sort of hero. You know, the same way they do with these cop killers, Tom, right? We have cop killers that we release in this state, then we have them speak at colleges as some sort of, you know, like they're some sort of celebrity. It's beyond the pale, and it's shameful, and it happens more and more, and it shows you how we are lied to. We are lied to by the media. We are lied to by many of the people that represent us. They tell you not to believe your own eyes and ears, and you know, they do tremendous damage to this country.
And I think the efforts of what you do, your leadership over at the PBA, and then, of course, getting together with those other members of law enforcement, fraternal organizations, unions, and so on, to try to create more of a united front. It kind of piggybacks on what you were just saying a few minutes ago on the activism and the involvement of law enforcement. And I thank God that it was probably even before your time. It was a court decision that allowed police officers to get involved politically. I don't know if you remember, there was a time you couldn't do this. You couldn't do it.
Yes.
And
which again makes you a second-class citizen, right? Like,
yeah, right.
These rights, the right to vote, the right to be actively involved in your own destiny as far as who you elect, that's a right that is enshrined in the Constitution and that every American deserves. When you raise your hand and swear to uphold that Constitution and risk your life to protect people, you're not waiving your right to be an American. You're not waiving your right to get involved in the political process. So to somehow pass a law which flies in the face of the Constitution to say that police officers should somehow be relegated to some lower status, you're somewhat less than an American, is, again, disgraceful and shameful, and should never happen anywhere in this country. We have every right to be involved in that process, every right to have some say in who we elect. And if anyone is going to have influence over public safety laws, it should be the experts. It should be the people with skin in the game. It should be the people that wear bulletproof vests. It should be those police officers, corrections officers, probation officers who put so much on the line. If anybody should have a say in that, it should be them.
Yeah, I mean, amen to that. That's all I can say. I mean, I hope there's always that phrase, you're preaching to the choir. And I hope the people listening right now, and I believe you are, because I got to know my listening audience right now. And I think that this is what people want. They want our support of our police officers. They want these police officers to at least have the support of government. And I've always said this, we're in a great place here in Suffolk County with our elected officials and the work that our law enforcement organizations are doing, such as the Suffolk PBA and so on. I think we're in a great place. But Nassau and Suffolk County are not the rest of the state. And I know you guys haven't done your endorsements yet, and I'm sure when you do your endorsements that we'll publicize it here on the show, because I think it's important that people know what law enforcement is thinking about elected officials who are making the decisions, so that we don't have Nicholas O'Malley's by wayward district attorney by the name of Kevin Hayden, that we don't have those type of elected officials. And I think at a certain point, we need to do that. Is that something that's going to happen soon, or we have to wait for September for that?
Yes, usually we have our due diligence, Tom. So we're going to make sure that we have each one of these candidates that's up for election in for a screening. We're going to take a look at their record and what they've done, outside of whatever rhetoric they might have, and then we're going to make a decision based on their record and how they have treated our police officers, public workers, and public safety in general. So yeah, we will get that out sometime over the summer. Like I said, it's something that we put a lot of work into. We do not make those endorsements lightly, because so much depends on this, Tom. And I hope that your listeners are taking a look at our social media. So we started that statewide coalition with the New York City Detective Endowment Association and about 50 other unions. And collectively, we put out a video last week, and you may have seen it, Tom. And if you did, I'm sure, like mine, your blood boiled.
Yeah,
when I tell you how these police officers are treated so vile, I mean, people walking up to these police officers with phones, sexually denigrating female police officers, right? Throwing racist slurs at police officers. This one hit me the hardest, Tom. Shouting 50A, right? Actually quoting the law that was repealed and saying, 50A, officer, I can find out where you live. I'll show up at your house. But showing how they're emboldened by Albany. I mean, Tom, if you haven't seen it, you have to see it. Again, disgusting, but this is what we're up against. They have stripped the very authority away from that badge and that uniform, and when you do that, you escalate violence against police officers, because it starts with the taunting. Once these people think, hey, it's open season, well, that's when you start getting ice smashed in your face.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I know I did, and you brought it back to my mind and so on. We only have 30 seconds left. Big rally coming up. I think it's this Friday at Suffolk Community College. I hate to do this in like 30 seconds, but tell us what the main issue is and what we need to do for our police officers relative to retirement.
This is about securing the future of public service here in New York State, Tom. We're having trouble recruiting. We've had trouble recruiting, not just cops. Our test 2/3, it's fallen since the 90s, but all walks. The people who take care of the buildings, the people who sweep the streets, the EMTs, teachers, They have slashed the retirements. You know, we were told that we needed to tighten the belt during the whole mortgage crisis, and since then, our new people who do more than ever, these jobs are tougher than ever, they are being cheated out of a fair retirement. We're asking all of our members, if you're a member of a union, we need you. That's this Friday, 3:30 at Suffolk County Community College. We're going to have food. There's going to be giveaways. We're going to have some great speakers. Please help us in this fight. Secure the future for new police officers and new public workers. Please come out and support us.
Fantastic. Once again, Lou Civello, president of Suffolk County PBA. We'll talk to you again in a couple of weeks, Lou. Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Thanks, Tom.
Okay, we'll take a short break. When we get back, let's take some phone calls. 631-451-1039 when we get back.